Result of a number of economic headwinds. We're now joined live by our business reporter Mombi Waroi, who's following the release of that report. Mombi, tell us more.
Thank you very much, Kiguta. We're coming to you live from the Intercontinental Hotel, where the World Bank has just released the Kenya Economic Update of 2017 with a key focus on housing. One of the key issues that have really come out today is that the World Bank has downgraded their focus from 6% for 2017 to 5.5%. This at a time when Kenya is really optimistic, or rather, the government has been really optimistic that the country will be able to have a continued growth over time. But right now, with the World Bank saying that because of the tough economic times that the country is currently facing, where we have seen the ongoing drought situation, the slowing down of credit facilities, where due to the capping of interest rates, there is minimal lending when it comes to the banks, and also among other issues that have affected the economy. But all hope is not lost, because when it comes to an issue of infrastructure, the government has said that during 2017 they are going to focus majorly on infrastructure so as to enable the continued growth of the economy, because since 2013 we have seen Kenya be able to have a standard growth of 5.6%, and it was expected, the government's projection says that the economy is to grow at between 5.9 to 6% this year. But however, as you've heard, the World Bank report indicates that this will be slowed down. But also another key issue that we can actually comment on is the issue that the elections are coming up, and an election is a key factor. And just someone who is going to shed more light into this, and we're just going to have a brief interview with one of the economists of the World Bank. Kindly join me, sir. That is Mr. Alan Dennis. Yes. I'd like to start by asking you, why did you predict that the growth will be downwards to 5.5%?
Okay. First of all, let me say that Kenya is growing robustly. It grew robustly in 2016, and even though we've marked down Kenya's growth performance in 2017 to 5.5%, relative to what is happening across sub-Saharan Africa, Kenya will still be growing quite robustly. Now, specific to why we marked down the growth, we're seeing certain emerging headwinds that are affecting Kenya's growth performance. The first one, of course, is what we all experience, and which is the drought. Kenya is a predominantly agricultural economy with 25% or so of its GDP coming from the agricultural sector. So when you have a drought, and historically you do see a deceleration in growth performance. The second thing is what we see in terms of the slowdown in credit growth. Credit needs to move to the private sector, because the private sector is what drives economies. When you see credit growth at 4.3% and you have a historical average of around 19%, that obviously is a concern.
Mr. Dennis, if I'm to ask you, it is an election year, and already during the first quarter you are saying that these indications show that there is going to be a downwards. That's why you revised your projections, yet there is elections coming forward. Do you actually see that this 5.5 you might actually even go down?
There are always risks to forecast, and I have to say, as much as there are downside risks, there are also upside risks. There are reasons why it could be higher than 5.5%, and there are reasons why it could be lower than 5.5%. For example, we talk about the drought. We factor that in our baseline, and that's why we have 5.5. But what if even the drought is worse than what we think it is? That will take you to something that is even below 5.5%. What if the slowdown in credit is much worse than what we think it is? That would lead. On the upside too, there are reasons why. What if the drought, turns out to be not as bad as is currently being predicted by the Kenya Meteorological Service? Then that's an upside risk to Kenya. We also mentioned some upside risks in terms of the growth in the global economy. For the first time in about 4 or 5 years, we're seeing an actually strengthening of the global. That's good for Kenya, because it's good for tourism in Kenya, and it's good for Kenya's exports. So there are downside and there are upside risks. But at this point, in terms of the balance of risk, we have 5.5% for 2017.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dennis. And yes, Ann Kiguta, we are going to bring you more details of this in our subsequent bulletins. Back to you in studio.
Thanks very much, Mombi. For that, let's just get comment from our guests in studio. And